Greetings, I'm your host, Dr. Wolfula, and when I'm not asking people over the phone what their favorite scary movie is, and also if they like to change their wireless carrier, I'm here at the Wolfula riff-viewing movies. For this vid, I'll be riff-viewing Scream 3, which I think is the 8th Scream film, I'm not sure. Released in 2000 and directed by the late Wes Craven himself. Scream was, from the very beginning, envisioned by its creator, Kevin Williamson, as a franchise with at least 2 sequels. It made Williamson's pitch of the first movie more lucrative. Dimension Films wouldn't just be buying one script, but a film series if it was successful, and you know, sequels to Scream make sense on paper. The original film was a satire of slasher films, and slasher films tend to have countless sequels.
So we're gonna carry on and plan the sequel, cause let's face it, baby, these days, you gotta have a sequel!
Now, Scream 2 was made less than a year after the release of the original movie. Dimension Films really wanted to capitalize off of the success of the first Scream right away, stab while the wound was still bloody. And the sequel was also a success, but that success came at a cost. Scream 2's script was leaked online, so at the last minute during an already extremely constrained film shoot, Scream 2 had to be extensively rewritten, especially the ending, and you can really tell they were pulling stuff out of their ass.
Billy's mother!
I kinda question why they bothered, though. Who was really looking at the internet in the mid to late 90s? Just a bunch of neckbeard nerds like it's always been. Who cares? The extensive rewrites of Scream 2 and also Halloween H2O the following year led to Kevin Williamson getting burned out, and he shifted his attention to his true passion in life as a middle-aged man. Teen dramas, creating Dawson's Creek, a TV series I have never and will never watch. Dimension Films wanted another Scream flick though, the notorious Weinstein brothers particularly, and after 3 years they got tired of waiting, but Kevin Williamson still said no to writing a third film. But instead of doing what they usually do when actresses say no to them and ending their careers, the Weinsteins just got a different writer for Scream 3 because getting a different guy to write the end of a trilogy always works out. The writer hired for Scream 3 was Aaron Kruger, who I'm more than certain was chosen by Craven out of bias towards the last name Kruger. Aaron Kruger wasn't totally in the dark writing Scream 3 though. There was a 5-page outline for the third film written by Kevin Williamson when the original Scream was pitched, but unfortunately before production of Scream 3 began, the infamous Columbine shooting happened and everybody was looking for a scapegoat to easily explain why 2 teens out of the billions of people on Earth decided to shoot up their school. Nowadays in the USA, this is just an average Thursday, but it was unfamiliar territory back in 1999, and violent movies were one of the main subjects of the Columbine blame game. And while the Weinsteins desperately wanted another Scream movie, they're also gigantic pussies and were afraid of backlash surrounding a Scream 3, especially considering the original Scream was about a couple of teens who dressed in black, killed their classmates, and even murdered at their own school. It didn't look so good, but we must not forget these immortal words.
Don't you blame the movies! Movies don't create psychos! Movies make psychos more creative!
Scream 3 was originally envisioned to take place in Woodsboro again, and it featured a totally different killer, somebody from the original movie, but that had to change at the last minute like most of these Scream scripts. I'll go into who the original killer of the third film was supposed to be later, but for now, let's begin my review of Scream 3. But first, a message from our sponsor, me! Visit the official Dr. Wolfula TeePublic store today for all things Dr. Wolfula. We got 2 new designs up personally drawn by me, my Savage as Fuck design and Goulash's You Fucking Weirdo design. You can get these and other designs on a shirt, a mug, a phone case, whatever. Check them out at teepublic.com/user/Dr. Wolfula.
By the way, you talked to Kathy about that Navy SEAL script?
Scream 3 begins in the most terrifying situation you can find yourself in. Gridlock traffic in Los Angeles. It's like everyone in this damn town wants an excuse to just sit in their cars and yell at their agent. Speak of the devil, we're reintroduced to everybody's favorite Scream character, Cotton. You guys remember Cotton, right? The character played by Liev Schreiber, who was originally the fall guy for the murder of Sydney's mother before being exonerated.
You, me, and Diane Sawyer.
Cotton, I can't.
He had some cool moments in the movies besides that, like, he chose not to murder Sydney in exchange for a joint interview with Diane Sawyer.
Bet you that Diane Sawyer interview's looking real good right about now.
Consider it done.
Cotton's a nice guy, and like all nice guys in Hollywood, he has his own talk show, which is called, 100% Cotton. Oh, dear Lord.
You a big, 100% Cotton fan?
They were playing the long con, naming this motherfucker Cotton just to pay it off after 3 movies with the dumbest pun imaginable. Anyway, Cotton is frustrated that he's been cast to appear in an upcoming horror film.
Risking my reputation as the host of this country's #1 talk show to do a cameo in some cheap slasher flick.
Oh, I get it. It's like a meta thing. Liev Schreiber's talking about the movie we're watching right now. He really doesn't want to be here. Hilarious.
Why can't these guys write me a fucking decent part?
Cotton takes a break from chewing out his agent on his cell phone, though, and he hits it off with a female fan who phoned his number by mistake.
You sound a lot like that guy on TV, Cotton Weary.
After having a rousing conversation about himself with the woman,
You a big, 100% Cotton fan?
110%.
things take a turn.
Now, what would your girlfriend say?
What makes you think I have a girlfriend?
I know you do.
Oh, fuck. Now this phone call has gotten even sexier.
I'm right outside her bathroom door.
Yes, it's Ghostface on the phone like always, peeping at the bare ass of Cotton's girlfriend in the shower. And Ghostface only has one thing on his mind like always.
Where's Maureen's daughter, Sydney?
Cotton uses his expert negotiating skills to bargain for his girlfriend's life.
You listen to me, you fucking psycho. You lay a finger on Christine and I swear to God I'll kill you.
Wrong answer.
Okay, that didn't work. So Cotton is forced to drive like I do in GTA and hopefully save the girlfriend he was strongly considering cheating on instead of using his cell phone to send the police to his house faster. Cotton's girlfriend Christine hears some suspicious noises coming from inside the house.
Hon, you alright? I'm home.
But is put at ease by the comfort of Cotton's kind face and gentle, knifeless hand. Psych! Because Christine is a white woman in danger, she wastes no time immediately slipping and falling, but at least she's quick on her feet. Christine hears Cotton's voice, though, who insists it was just a prank, bro.
Okay, I'm sorry, babe. I didn't mean to scare you that bad.
What are you talking about?
Talking about how much fun it's gonna be to rip your insides out.
Hey, wait until you two are in the bedroom before you get up in her guts. Outside, the real Cotton arrives 30 minutes after the police would have arrived if he bothered to call them. Cotton is prepared to rescue Christine, but he's the one who's gonna need some rescuing. Cotton uses his expert negotiation tactics to convince Christine that he isn't trying to kill her.
Why do you want to kill
Give me
me?
the club, all right, honey? Give me the club.
Christine, get out of the way! Oh!
Okay, that didn't work, and Ghostface hits it from behind. Bet that wasn't the warm fluid she was expecting to land on her back tonight. Cotton doesn't know how to read, but he always knew this bookcase would come in handy someday. But it ends up being his undoing.
Now, you lose.
Hey, Ghostface, we're the ones watching this movie. We all lose. Elsewhere, Nev Campbell is shooting an ad for Sidney Prescott is enjoying a life of isolated obscurity, hidden away from the world, where she works as a counselor for women dealing with real-life problems.
I'm 18 years old, and I have a boyfriend. Sometimes he hits me.
Meanwhile, Sydney's problems are getting chased around by masked Scooby-Doo serial killers, not once, but twice.
Break the rules. Stop at nothing.
Sydney's old frenemy, Gail Weathers, is giving a lecture, thankfully not on how to properly cut your bangs, after which Gail is called out.
So you're saying that we should be ready to go out and cut each other's throats because that's what you did?
I like how even the extras in these movies are tired of Gail's bullshit. Gail is called upon by an LA detective to help him on his latest case, tracking down the killer of Cotton Weary, and they already have a lead, a photo of a young Maureen Prescott. I guess she always had that weird-shaped head.
This is Sidney Prescott's mother.
Sydney catches word of Cotton's murder, and she's surprisingly devastated despite Cotton being a guy she hated even after she found out he didn't kill her mom. But the biggest victim in Cotton's murder is the production of a sleazy slasher threequel called Stab 3. Nobody ever stops to think about the Hollywood producers during these situations, the little guys. A meeting is held between the crew of Stab 3 and the head of the studio. Wow, Roger Corman is both the head of a film studio and the director of the FBI? Whoa!
Violence in cinema is a big deal right now, Roman. This is not the kind of news this studio's after.
How ironic. Roman Bridger, the totally unsuspicious director of Stab 3, insists that the production must go on in the shadow of these murders, but he's having a hard time making a case to Lance Henriksen and the guy who produced Piranhaconda.
So if we stop making scary movies, what, all the psychos in the world will retire? Come on.
It's here where we meet the diverse and totally not disposable cast of Stab 3. Notably among them is Tyson, played by Dion Richmond, who might be familiar to you from The Cosby Show. He played Bud, the best friend of Rudy!
I am not a Randy substitute. I'm my own character.
Named Ricky, who works at the video store.
It's an homage.
Gail arrives at the set of Stab 3 dressed up as Big Bird, ready to begin her investigation. But she's confronted by her Stab 3 doppelganger.
After 2 films, I feel like I am in your mind.
Well, that would explain my constant headaches.
God, look at these two bitches wearing highlighter colors. It's in this scene where Gail reunites with Dewey, who looks like if Clark Gable got dropped on his head as a kid. And it's revealed that Dewey is fraternizing with Gail's Stab 3 counterpart, Jennifer, and oh dear God, those are the worst bangs I have ever seen. Holy fuck. Did Gail lose a fight with a pair of scissors? Jesus Christ. Wes Craven must have really had it in for Courtney Cox, letting her star in a movie looking like this.
But you're supposed to be in Woodsboro.
Well, I'm surprised you thought about me at all.
The Gale Weathers love parade continues when she meets Tom, the Stab 3 version of Dewey.
And that story that you did last month on me crashing my car, wow, was that ever powerful journalism? Are you parked in the lot? Because I should check to make sure that nobody's messed with your brake line.
Man, nobody likes this miserable bitch.
No press on set. Get that woman out of here.
She's not even allowed to be on the set of this stupid-ass movie based on her stupid-ass books.
It was great seeing you.
I'm surprised he stayed married to her for 13 more years after this. Outside the soundstage, getting a set tour, we get a cameo from, Jay and Silent Bob? Seriously?
Oh shit, Silent Bob, it's that TV news shit, Connie fucking Chung.
Just so you guys know, this tacky cameo was a decision made by Harvey Weinstein to help promote the Jay and Silent Bob movie that released the following year. So we can rank this cameo as one of the worst things Harvey Weinstein has ever done. Hell, I'm just gonna say it. This is the absolute worst thing Harvey Weinstein has ever done.
All right, you bastard, let's see who you really are.
Back at Sydney's house, the Amazon Fresh delivery man is unloading Sid's groceries, but he also happens to be Sydney's father. Yeah, remember Sydney's dad? He was like in 2 scenes in the first movie. Every time I watch the original Scream, I forget Sydney's dad exists, and then when I see him, I say, Sydney's got a dad in this movie?
It's as if you don't exist.
Actually, you'd think if Ghostface was trying to get Sydney out of hiding, he'd go after Sydney's dad instead of Cotton of all fucking people, a guy who Sydney would definitely not stay in contact with. But, you know, this movie was written in like 2 days, so whatever.
Psychos can't kill what they can't find.
Later that night, Wes Craven forgets he's shooting a Scream movie, not a Nightmare on Elm Street sequel, and Sydney has a bad dream of her mother doing her best impression of that kid in the window from Salem's Lot.
Poison. You're just like me.
Honestly, if you're concerned about killers coming after you, maybe you shouldn't keep your window open while you're sleeping, bitch. Anybody can just climb through that thing. Back at Hollywood, Jenny McCarthy arrives at the studio to drop off some falsified documents about vaccine risks.
Stab 3. Jesus, I gotta get a new agent.
You know, constantly making fun of the fact that you're making a Scream 3 starts to sound less like quirky self-awareness and more like cynical self-loathing. In the studio office, Sarah is jump-scared with the goriest death in the film, and it isn't even a real death.
Well, excuse us, Sarah. Makeup test.
Sarah runs her scenes over the phone with the director Roman when she finds out, typically for a Scream movie, there's been another rewrite.
Has there been another goddamn rewrite?
It's not just a new script, it's a new movie.
What?
But the good news is she won't have to memorize her lines for much longer.
And it's called Sarah Gets Skewered Like a Fucking Pig.
Sarah hides as far away from the exit of this building as possible, behind a rack of costumes of the guy who's trying to kill her. The perfect hiding spot for Ghostface. In the prop room, Sarah grabs some knives, but they're flaccid, and Ghostface kills Jenny McCarthy like how she killed Jim Carrey's career. Elsewhere, Dewey is experiencing horror of his own. Lunch with his ex, who put her fame over him after he almost died a second time.
It was fucking 60 minutes too.
Couldn't say no, I could have been the next Diane Sawyer.
Man, these movies are obsessed with that dumb old bitch Diane Sawyer. Give it a rest already.
Gotta run.
Wait, Dewey, where are you going?
Dewey and Gale head over to where Dewey's been crashing, Jennifer's place, and they find out from her Patrick Warburton bodyguard that there's been another murder and that Jennifer is likely next.
Who gets killed third?
Because Gale dies third in the script. God, if only Gale had died by this point in the franchise. Stab 3 had the right fucking idea. Sounds like a much better movie. Can you imagine anything more cozy than being held in Patrick Warburton's arms? I can't.
I suggest a search of the grounds.
Speaking of which, Patrick Warburton confronts Dewey with the truth that Dewey doesn't have a great track record for keeping people alive.
You're just no good as a cop anymore. Your resume reads like the obituaries, so how about you take suggestions from me?
Patrick Warburton is the world's best bodyguard, after all. Do you know how many jackasses in butterfly costumes he's killed?
They hit me with a truck.
At the crime scene, it's revealed that who will be killed next is actually up in the air, because there are multiple scripts.
3 different characters die next. And we don't know which one the killer read.
This situation wouldn't be happening if they just wrote only one script where nobody died. Elsewhere, Roman is selected as the lead suspect during this investigation.
This is the scene where you come with us.
But there's no way Roman could possibly be the actual killer. It would be one of the biggest plot contrivances in horror movie history. They would never do that. I mean, get real.
Remind me not to sleep with him again.
Back at Sydney's place, she gets a call from a familiar voice.
You know your mother's voice when you hear it. Now turn on the news.
Okay, it could just be Norman Bates doing a prank call, but the news still has Sydney spooked.
And with the second cast member murdered, Stab 3 has been officially shut down.
You know, for somebody afraid of getting killed, she sure does love to keep that window open at night. In Hollywood, the Stab 3 versions of Sydney, Dewey, and Gale are all gathered together at Jennifer's house, where they can efficiently be killed all at once. After all, it saves Ghostface the extra murder trips. They were all in separate places.
You're drunk.
I'm coping.
The real Gale arrives to eavesdrop on Dewey and Jennifer looking at Photoshop pictures of Parker Posey in front of places she's never been to in real life. But Gale is caught by Crunk himself.
We're eavesdropping the bedroom window.
All right, let's talk.
Gale needs to go over the case with Dewdrop, though, and Dewey realizes that Jennifer's Photoshop publicity still is in the same spot as one of Maureen's pics, the back lot of the movie studio.
Maureen Prescott was at the back lot at Sunrise Studios.
Outside, Patrick Warburton starts rifling through Dewey's trailer because they need to suddenly make this character completely incompetent to necessitate his death. Dewey and Gale search for the actors in the house, but are greeted only by silence, followed by each of the actors jump-scaring a guy carrying a loaded gun. They're lucky Dewey is no longer a cop on active duty, because if he was, he would have just shot them all and got suspension with pay. The gang spots Patrick Warburton fresh from his nightly spaghetti dinner at Olive Garden, but coincidentally, there's a knife in his back.
Dewey, is he dead?
God, is this a Scream movie or a sequel to Clue? The lights go out in Jennifer's house, so it looks like they're all gonna have a late-night pool party. But unfortunately, Jennifer gets an urgent fax.
The fax!
Fax? Man, if only they knew how quickly this would be dated. I guess you could say the same thing about everything in this movie, though.
The 5 stand trapped.
He's rewriting the movie.
As the killer waits outside.
Anyway, Ghostface is writing his own version of Stab 3 with blackjack and hookers, but actually with his own version of the characters' deaths. And the gang continues to read the script like jackasses instead of just getting the fuck out of this dark building right away. Which they eventually do, but Tom just can't say no to a good page-turner. It's too dark in the house, though, so Tom uses a lighter to read the script like he's a cartoon prospector. Savage as fuck! Little trivia, Michael Bay filled in for Wes Craven as director the week this scene was shot, but you wouldn't know it looking at it.
What in the hell was that all about?
Dewey searches for Gale, but Ghostface finds her first. Oh, come on, Dewey. Ghostface just wants to spare us from having to look at her god-awful bangs. Anyway, Dewey falls down a cliff again for another 5 minutes. And by the time he reaches the ground, Ghostface is long gone, but Dewey must face the wrath of Bizarro Gale.
Hey! My lawyer liked that.
Parker Posey went to the William Shatner School of Acting. Oh, yeah, the chick that plays Sydney in Stab 3 also survived, but I guess was blown several blocks away just so she could be a red herring, because otherwise we wouldn't even notice she exists.
Are we safe?
Safe from who?
The cops become convinced that this new Ghostface was actually the OG killer of Maureen Prescott.
And either Mr. Riley is going to obstruct justice, or he's going to put me in touch with her.
And it's up to Dewey to bring Sydney out of hiding and into a murderer's sights again. But that stupid slut isn't answering her goddamn phone. Oh, hey, it's Sydney. Oh, yeah, she's here.
Oh my God, Sydney.
And the whole gang takes their van to investigate the old haunted film studio. But first they get jump scared by the sister of the late Randy Meeks, Martha.
Don't shoot, I'm only 17.
A character we have never seen before who arrives just to deliver a videotape of her dead older brother that he shot a day or maybe even hours before he was killed. Just so the movie could have a Jamie Kennedy cameo where he tells the gang the rules of surviving the end of a trilogy.
Anyone, including the main character, can die. This means you, Sid. I'm sorry.
Everyone in the room watching this tape survives this movie, though, so none of what Randy says really applies to them.
The past is not at rest. Any sins you think were committed in the past are about to break out and destroy you.
It's just obligatory foreshadowing, like Randy has a crystal ball that can see 3 years into the future. It's such a bizarre scene, too, because it's just the actors watching the tape inside a trailer. It's like this cameo was totally shot last minute when the cast was all just hanging out. Hey guys, we're just gonna shoot you, just look at the TV and we'll put something up later.
And for some of you, I'll see you soon.
You could cut this scene out of the movie and it wouldn't have any impact. The 17-year-old sister of Randy just fucking leaves. How did she get to this movie studio and how did she know to find the trio there? It just makes no sense. Originally, the idea for Randy's cameo in Scream 3 would be that he actually survived his run-in with Ghostface, like how he narrowly survived in the original movie. And it would be revealed that Randy's parents put him into hiding and he'd look all fucked up, which would be really hard to believe, which is also why they didn't go in that direction. But look at the rest of Scream 3. Is it that much harder to believe Randy survived?
Hey, Connie, how's Maury?
Speaking of believable, realistic situations, the gang splits up and looks for clues, and Gail's Stab 3 counterpart jump scares her way into getting them both VIP access to the studio archives, and the duo meets within the late Carrie Fisher doing a quirky cameo where she's playing a former actress who looks just like Carrie Fisher.
I was up for Princess Leia. So who gets it? The one who sleeps with George Lucas.
I like how Scream 3 is the Hollywood Scream movie, and their celebrity cameos are Carrie Fisher, Jay and Silent Bob, and Roger Corman. The celebrities you'd see at a comic book convention. Anyway, the two Gales discover Maureen Prescott was briefly an actress under the name of Rena Reynolds. And surprisingly, with that kind of stage name, none of the movies she was in were porn.
Horror pictures, back in Milton's heyday.
Elsewhere, Dewey's just standing around like a jackass, waiting for Sydney to finish in the restroom where she's drinking straight from the sink. If the last scene wasn't enough to sell the forced red herring, they really go overboard in this scene, where Sydney meets the chick playing her in Stab 3 holding onto a Ghostface mask and phone in the bathroom for some reason.
Well, if there's no movie, then no one would care if I took some souvenirs.
Souvenirs?
They might as well put a sign on her back that says, "I'm the killer." The suspicious Sydney actress left behind her hairbrush, though, and Sydney uses this as enough motivation to follow the bitch through a dark corridor straight to the soundstage recreation of that house she almost died in, and lost her virginity. That was the real highlight of that night for Sydney. They don't call him Skeet for nothing. Wow, the recreation of Sydney's old bedroom is accurate down to the Creed poster. Sydney's always had shitty taste in men and music. Now, this isn't just purely nostalgic fan service, where Sydney's irrationally reliving some of her worst trauma alone while she knows a mass killer is on the loose stalking her. I mean, just that by itself is pretty bad. But of course, Ghostface also shows up, and man, I bet the crew of Stab 3 is really kicking themselves for not having cameras rolling on this shit. Sydney forgets, though, that the studio recreated her old home exactly, down to it missing half of the second floor. She had a very dangerous childhood growing up. Whee! That looks fun. Sydney is a strong female character who needs a man to rescue her. Dewey! But she hears her mother beckoning her into the other bedroom.
Sydney, come in here.
And also here's Matthew Lillard.
Let's face it, Sydney, your mother was no Sharon Stone.
It's true, Sydney. Your mother was no Sharon Stone. Sydney is suddenly confronted by a spooky 'sheet' ghost and nimbly makes her escape out the window.
'Cause let's face it, Sydney, your mother was no Sharon Stone. It's true, Sydney. Your mother was no Sharon Stone. Sydney is suddenly confronted by a spooky sheet ghost and nimbly makes her escape out the window.
Dewey and the other authorities that should have been by Sydney's side at all times come to her aid, but Ghostface has already left. Probably to have a meeting with a big-shot Hollywood producer. Speaking of which, coincidentally, Roman, the director of Stab 3, is having a meeting with the film's producer, John Milton.
I'm not a criminal. I was questioned.
But it's interrupted by the Doobie-Doo gang, who questioned Milton for his previous association with Maureen Prescott in the 70s, and the fact that he's producing movies about the aftermath of her murder.
You're obsessed with her, and you're obsessed with her daughter!
Right, easy, Geraldo.
Bit of a superfluous scene. I would have cut it out had it not included a little alien sitting on a couch. Look at that little guy. Oh yeah, also, John Milton reveals that Maureen Prescott was gang raped at one of his parties.
Nothing happened to her that she didn't invite in one way or another.
Are you saying
I'm saying things got out of hand.
But look at that little alien. Look at that little alien guy.
You know, maybe the sad truth is, this is not the city for innocence.
Seriously, though, it's pretty bold of Harvey Weinstein to put a character directly based on him in this film.
No charges were brought. You want to get ahead in Hollywood? You gotta play the game.
We're moving on to the finale of this movie now, but first I have a message from my sponsor, me. Pledge to my Patreon today to support the channel, help it continue to grow, and you'll also get access to weekly movie nights every Sunday and archive commentaries if you miss the movie nights live. Just $5 a month to get a movie night every week. Pledge to patreon.com/Dr. Wolfula if you're interested, and I thank you in advance. Back at the station, to try to squeeze out another red herring at the last second, Sydney asks Detective Kincaid what he knows about trilogies.
Well, all I know about movie trilogies is that in the third one, all bets are off.
You think so, but that's never really been the case ever.
I know what it's like to see ghosts that don't go away.
Ghosts are tough. You can't shoot ghosts.
Can't arrest ghosts.
What is he talking about? They made a whole movie series about arresting ghosts. Ghost Arresters.
What did you know about your mother?
I don't know who my mom was.
You know who she was to you.
Yeah, she was a bit of a skank who keeps getting her daughter almost murdered from beyond the grave. Before Detective Kincaid leaves, Sydney asks him the final, most pressing question of all.
What's your favorite scary movie?
My life.
Oh, I love that movie. Stars Patrick Dempsey, right? Elsewhere, the rest of the gang receives a call from a vague Sydney informing them that she's going to the home of John Milton.
I'm going to meet him at his house.
We're on our way, but still,
Thanks.
Wow, Sydney's become a real bitch since coming to Hollywood. Speaking of Hollywood bitches, Dewey and the two Gales arrive at John Milton's house, and instead of finding Sydney or Milton, they find the most depressing birthday party ever, celebrating Roman's 30th. God, this is like if a birthday party was a suicide note.
Milton has a secret screening room that was like the scene back in the 70s, you know.
So of course, immediately, the whole group splits up and tries to solve the mystery of the lost screening room.
We'll be right back.
Roman kicks things off by investigating the spooky basement where he discovers a coffin haunted by a glowing green zombie! Ah! And speaking of cheap shit you can buy at Party City, Dewey calls Sydney back only to discover her supposed phone in a closet alongside a Ghostface mask and some kind of sex toy, I think.
Is this what he...
No, actually, it's a magic voice changer that can make you sound like anybody.
Dewey's got our voices.
This is how you know these Scream movies are actually science fiction films. Gale and Dewey split up in the mansion to rescue some spoiled Hollywood brats they barely know, and Dewey discovers the one thing that terrifies every small-town cop like him. An innocent black guy! Ah!
We gotta get out of here. Where's Angelina?
Meanwhile, Gale discovers Roman's totally dead corpse. I mean, she checks his pulse and everything. He's gotta be dead, right?
Is he dead? I'm sorry!
The two Gales search for Angelina, but of course, it's Scream 3, so she jump scares them first.
The killer's here.
What?
Come on.
What? Go! I'm getting out of here!
Well, regardless, Angelina runs like a spaz straight into a knife. Now she's a blood red herring. The two Gales manage to retreat to the safety of Dewey. Sucker punch! In the bedroom, this Ghostface makes up for the sins of the previous Ghostface, letting that one black guy get away in the second movie. Tyson won't be getting away that easily. He's the priority target now. Jennifer tries to escape from Ghostface herself, but like R. Kelly before her, she's trapped in the closet.
Do you hear something?
Dewey hears sounds coming from behind these kinky mirrors and saves the day. Okay, actually, Dewey shot Jennifer in the head, but don't worry, this will be Dewey's and Gale's little secret. After that shit, Dewey and Gale split up, which has really been working out well tonight. Dewey gets a phone call from Gale to rescue her, and instead of just, not doing that and drastically improving his life, Dewey goes along with saving Gale, but not without a little hesitation at least.
How do I know that this is you, Gale, not the killer?
After Gale and Dewey wait like 20 minutes to do something, Ghostface finally wakes up from his nap. Whoa, Ghostface's arm is a cannon! You know, the cops would do something about all this shit happening tonight, but first they need to finish up their pizza party. Sydney isn't participating in the pizza party, though. She doesn't like to do fun things. But getting a phone call from Ghostface telling her that her friends are gonna die if she doesn't show her face tonight, yeah, that's more Sydney's scene.
It's simple. You show yourself, they survive. You run, they die.
Sydney arrives fashionably late to Roman's B-Day bash, and like everywhere else in this post-Columbine world, you gotta use a metal detector to get inside. Having to leave my gun at home when I go to Disneyland fucking sucks.
Show it to me. Throw it in the pool.
Sydney heads into the mansion to rescue her friend and Gale, but Sydney walks right into a backhand slap. Bam! Bitch went down!
2 guns, bitch!
While Sydney was for some reason saving Gale, Ghostface escapes, and Detective Kincaid heard this movie needed him to be a red herring again at the last minute.
I'm here to help. Put the gun down.
Yeah, let's put the guns away. It's not like there's a mass killer around. Oh wait, I forgot there is! Sydney retreats to the safety of the nearby study, locking the killer outside with her still tied up friends, and because this is a live-action episode of Scooby-Doo, Sydney finds a hidden room behind a bookcase, where she discovers the lost mummy's gold. Now, actually, Sydney finds the lost mummy's home videos in Milton's secret screening room, and out emerges a giant used tampon. No, wait, it's Ghostface.
You're not going anywhere, Sydney. Maybe you just can't get past the surface of things.
What, is that a diaper on his chest? Ghostface reveals he's the long-lost child of Maureen Prescott.
I searched for a mother, too. Maureen Prescott.
But he wasn't born a Ghostface, though that would be adorable. The killer is revealed to be... wait, who is that?
Roman Bridger, director.
Wait, Roman, the director of Stab 3? How does that make sense? Roman reveals that he's the one who encouraged Billy Loomis to kill Maureen, supplying the original Ghostface with footage of Billy's father with Sydney's mother.
Have a partner to sell out in case you get caught, find someone to frame. It was like he was making a movie.
But Roman didn't account for Billy and Stu doing the whole Ghostface thing and going after Sydney, failing and turning Sydney into a star.
I had no idea that they were gonna make a film of their own.
Which made Roman jealous that Sydney is still the favored child of Maureen beyond the grave.
Sydney, the victim. Sydney, the survivor. Sydney, the star!
Alright, so Roman is the mastermind behind the original Scream. Okay. But not only that, he also managed to become a successful music video director in Hollywood who landed the gig directing the third film in the franchise based on the killing spree he secretly kicked off? All whilst taking up the Ghostface mantle himself completely alone, unlike every other Ghostface in this movie series? I'm not gonna lie, it's all a bit of a stretch, don't you think? Now, supposedly, originally the killer of Scream 3 was intended to be totally different. It was going to be Stu, played again by Matthew Lillard, revealed to still be alive and masterminding a plot to kill Sydney by sicking a bunch of high school-age Ghostfaces after her in Woodsboro. According to Lillard, he was signed on and paid to come back, but then Columbine happened and they couldn't make Scream 3 take place in Woodsboro and definitely couldn't have anything involving high school kids or somebody who was a killer in high school. It maybe would have been a stretch to bring back Stu, but if given the choice between Stu or Roman, I'd definitely pick Matthew Lillard. Anyway, Roman's plan here is to frame Sydney for the murder of Milton, who pulled a Weinstein on Sydney's mother in the 70s, which, okay.
They fucked her 3 ways from Sunday, ruined her life.
But like every Ghostface, for whatever reason, instead of just focusing on killing the shit out of Sydney, he just keeps monologuing for 5 fucking minutes. Even after killing Milton, these dudes just won't shut the fuck up.
Who's the one who bravely faced down the psychopath and killed her with her own knife?
Anyway, Roman tells Sidney he's the Senate, but Sidney tries to kill him in the screening room with the candlestick. You know, this is actually how brothers and sisters normally fight in my experience. It's honestly kind of touching how quickly these two are making up for lost time not growing up together. Dewey tries to save Sidney, but he just ends up making a jackass out of himself like always, and Detective Kincaid gives it a shot himself, but here comes Roman with the chair.
Lose something?
Found something.
Look at how easy that was, Roman. Why haven't you just been doing that this whole time instead of chasing people around in a costume like those teenage boys 4 years ago? While Roman was busy shutting the door so a draft wouldn't get in, though, Sidney's body disappears. Oh no, that was Roman's directing shoulder. Sidney was wearing a bulletproof vest too, the crafty cunt, and lands the final blow as Dewey and Gale arrive just in time to witness Sidney have a poignant moment with her lost brother. The darker side of her mother she never understood, but finally has made peace with. A heartbreaking moment, of course, instantly ruined when Roman leaps up, still alive, shouts like a lunatic, just to get an asshole where his face used to be.
Thanks.
During the epilogue, Dewey proposes to Gale, which will no doubt lead to a happy, lasting marriage in the years to come, both fictionally and in real life too. And the happy couple look on at their adopted special needs daughter, Sidney. God, this looks like a commercial for Viagra. Sidney enters her home and finds Detective Kincaid, her future husband, I guess, getting ready to put on a movie to end this trilogy, but leaving the door open for another sequel in the future. Seriously, bitch, close your doors and windows. Scream 3 is no doubt the weakest link in the original Scream trilogy, which, you know, is typical for most final chapters in trilogies. But Scream 3 is also arguably the worst Scream movie, at least the worst directed by Wes Craven. It just came out at the wrong time, forced to hold itself back to avoid backlash, with less horror and more comedy, and nobody was in a rush to make the movie anyway, besides the Weinsteins, in order to make a quick buck before the current horror trend fizzled out. But it says something that the Weinsteins also produced an official parody of the Scream franchise that came out a few months after Scream 3, Scary Movie, a parody of movies that were already parodies, and that film made significantly more money than any of the actual Scream movies to date. Ultimately, the biggest problem with Scream 3 is a major issue with the Scream sequels in general. They set themselves up for failure. What made the original Scream so fresh and unique was that it was a slasher movie fully aware of the conventions of slasher movies, to the point where these conventions are rules that the movie follows to a certain degree, only to break the rules completely in the final act, go against all expectations with the killers unmasking completely and doing monologues at gunpoint. You never see Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers doing this kind of shit. That's what really set Scream apart from its predecessors. The sequels, though, go in with the ultra-meta approach that sequels are unoriginal copies of the first film with only a few things tweaked, intentionally making worse movies as a gag, and instead of breaking rules like the original Scream did, the sequels all follow the original film's formula-breaking formula to a T, to the point where it really cheapens a fresh concept and breaks from the sense of reality that the first movie had. The Scream sequels have just gotten way too meta for their own good. But you know, the Scream movies are at least fun to watch, though. I give Scream 3 Gale's bangs out of little alien guy. Look at that little alien guy. While I still have your attention, give my zombie servant Goulash of the Gulag channel a subscribe. He's back and has been finishing off reviewing the Addams Family franchise. From a riff view of the weird, forgotten direct-to-video sequel Addams Family Reunion, to the recent animated Addams Abominations. Subscribe to the Gulag today. I command it.
Stab 3. Jesus, I gotta get a new agent.
This video is made possible through the pledges of my Patreon supporters, and I'd like to give a very special thanks to the kind folks pledged to my shoutouts tier. All of the support on Patreon means a lot to me, and it helps my dark influence continue to grow. If you like this video, like it, and if you loved it, click the subscribe and bell buttons for more vids. Be sure to also keep in touch by following me on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dr. Wolfula. While I still have your attention, consider pledging to my Patreon to support the channel and get bonus content like previews, VIP Discord server access, private movie night streams, and credits in videos. Consider pledging at patreon.com/Dr. Wolfula. Also, check out official Dr. Wolfula t-shirts and other merch on tpublic.com/user/Dr. Wolfula. Thanks for watching. See you all next time. Dr. Wolfula signing out.